I wanted to show you another example of a kind of a problem you would get involving circles. This one says, find the equation of the circle with a diameter with endpoints -3, 5 and 2, 6. So those are the endpoints of the diameter, and you're supposed to find the equation of a circle. So first, I need to find the center of the circle, and I need to find the radius of the circle. Okay, and then I can just, using the standard form of the circle, I can write out the equation. So the center is the midpoint of the given diameter, because the diameter always goes right through the center of the circle, right? And the radius is also half of that diameter, the length of the diameter. So the midpoint you find by averaging the first coordinates and averaging the second coordinates to get the new first coordinate and new second coordinate, the first and second coordinate of the midpoint, which would be the center of the circle. So to average two numbers, you add them up and divide by 2. So I took the first coordinate of the 2 points, -3 and 2. I added them and divided by 2, and I got -1/2. For h, so h is the first coordinate. H goes with x, k goes with y. It goes alphabetically, h, k, x, y. So k, the second coordinate for the center, I average the second coordinates for the endpoints of the diameter. So that's 5 plus 6 divided by 2, which is 11/2. I wrote that as 5.5 just because it's easier to type in when you go online and you have to type in your answer. It's just easier to type in 5.5. The decimals are often easier, but as long as it's a simple decimal and it's not like a repeating decimal or something like a third or something like that, in which case I would leave it in fractional form. But for this one, it was just easier to type out as 5.5, so that's why I wrote it that way. So the center is -0.5, 5.5. Now I need to find the radius. I can do that one of two ways. I can find the distance between the center and either one of the endpoints. I guess that's 2 ways already. And the third way, I guess, is to find the distance between the 2 endpoints and then divide it by 2. I'm going to do the second one because it doesn't involve these fractions, squaring these fractions, or decimals if you want. So the length of the diameter is D is for distance or diameter, either way. D equals square root, and you take the difference now this is a difference, right? Not a sum. You take the difference in the 2 x coordinates, -3 minus 2, and you square that, and then you take the difference in the 2 y coordinates, 5 minus 6, and you square that, and then you take the square root. This is just the Pythagorean theorem again, except now you're going, instead of from the center to the to circumference of the circle, you're going from one point at the end of a diameter to the other point on the end of the diameter. So I'll have to divide my distance by 2 when I'm done. So I end up getting, what's basically 5 squared plus 1 squared, which gives me square root of 25 plus 1, which is square root of 26, which doesn't simplify because that's 2 times 13. There's no perfect squares in there other than 1 or minus 1. So the radius is half of that, so it's square root of 26 over 2. So r squared is 26 over 4. Be careful of that. Remember, in the equation for the circle, I'm going to use r squared. So I just wrote it down so I didn't mess it up, because maybe I square the numerator and get 26, and then I forget to square the denominator, because one's a square root and one's not, so it can kind of confuse the brain a little bit. So I wrote it down to be certain that I wrote it right. And then you'll notice that reduces because they're both even. So you get 13/2, which I just wrote as 6.5. So that's r squared, and I wrote it down as r squared so I don't square it again or something. So I take x minus the x-coordinate, which is x minus a negative 0.5. So that's x plus 0.5, and I square that. And then I take y minus the y-coordinate, which is of the center, which is y minus 5.5, and take that and square it, and set it equal to r squared, which is 6.5. And that's the answer. That's how I would type it in. You could type it in with halves as well, like in fractional form, but I prefer this for myself. Just a little easier to enter. Now you can get other problems as well that I am not going to do. I'm not going to do every single possible example of what you can get. You just have to think about it, and often it helps if you draw a picture. Just draw an illustration of what they're asking for, and very often you can tell from the picture, because it's a circle, it's very simple. You can tell from the picture what's going on, and then you continue from there. I just wanted to do this one to make sure that you remember how to find the midpoint of 2 points and how to find the distance between 2 points.